Here I feel valued. Here I feel like I'm cared for. Here I feel like I got the help that I needed. Failure is not an option for me.
You were challenged all the time to do your best.
The commitment to do your best at Trinity remains as high as ever, but impoverished students like Deneen are now the future of a college once known for its elite enrollment. So what happened?
The whole world changed in a very brief period of time, and the traditional population of young Catholic women totally disappeared, and that left Trinity and many of the women's colleges like Trinity without a base. The base disappeared.
Trinity College was established in 1897 by the Sisters of Notre Dame for Women, women who were denied an education at the nearby all-male Catholic University in Northeast Washington, D.C.
It was very small, even by modern college standards in the 50s and 60s. That made it very elite. Trinity was very hard to get into.
We were recognized by Smith and Wellesley and Vassar and as being, you know, one of them. I mean, as far as quality of education went.
The biggest compliment and the biggest enabler to gain confidence was to be treated intellectually.
Social changes and the opening of men's colleges to women in the 1970s challenged Trinity and other small schools.
Higher ed became very competitive, and it became a business. And none of those small places were really organized to do business efficiently or effectively. And most of them were dependent on really low-cost faculty. They were dependent on a certain kind of class of students, a double whammy with women and especially from wealthier families. They had all the disadvantages you could possibly see at this point, and they had never built an endowment.
By the time McGuire came back as president in 1989, the full-time student body had declined to 300 from a high of about 950. Graduate programs and a weekend school established in the 1980s kept the school afloat, but McGuire would be thrust into controversy when she proposed they recruit women in need from the city.
Being appointed as Trinity's president at age 36 with no prior executive experience was quite a blast for me. I'm not sure that all of the senior faculty thought it was quite so amusing.
She was taking it down a path that had outreach into the community that was really beautiful. It made us all so proud. Well, I shouldn't say all, because some people had an unease about the school departing from what they remembered it to be.
Some of the alumni were very upset that we were letting our standards go down.
I thought that perhaps I could restore the Trinity of my youth. And I quickly decided that was ridiculous. That was gone and was not coming back. It was one of the great risks I had to take to accept the fact that even as we were thinking about big, bold business moves, we also had to understand where our future markets were.
The thing that Trinity can be most proud of is they chose to stay with women particularly as the focal point, and that had been their mission. It was a different group of women now, but they stayed with their mission.
I played basketball when I was a student here, and we played under our big chapel in a big room with a concrete floor and a low ceiling. I went to the board and said, with all of 300 traditional age students enrolled, we need to build an athletic center here. We must be able to compete. And they looked at me and said, you must be nuts. And I said, well, you're right. We're not going to spend $10 million on a gym for 5 girls. We're going to do something amazing. We're going to build the Trinity Center for Women and Girls in Sports and make this a destination venue for women's amateur athletic sports.
Good block.
Thinking small was going to kill us. Thinking big was the only way to get out of the trough into which we had fallen. So today we're building a science building that 10 years ago, nobody thought we could afford.
So this is just an example. Let me state the other two with this background.
My major is mathematics. I look forward to obtaining an undergraduate degree in math, eventually go to graduate school and major in civil engineering.
When I started as president, I asked the director of admissions how many students came to Trinity from the DC public schools. She said, well, we don't recruit locally. And I said, why not? And she said, well, the local students can't really do the work here.
I want to use my insight for design and space and functionality to provoke higher level thinking in others.
Today, more than 2,200 women and a few men are enrolled in the 5 schools that make up Trinity Washington University. More than 1,000 are in the liberal arts school that had dropped to 300. 90% are African-American or Latina. 70% of undergraduates are Pell Grant eligible. The median family income of full-time undergraduates is about $25,000.
Demographic change, racial change, social class change is very hard for people to accept. But over time, as our alumni met our students, they came to love them.
My name's Sierra Slad. I'm a forensic science major, and I'm a freshman.
And today, we have alumni lining up to give money for our new building because they see that these young women are going into math and science and healthcare and other professions.
Typically what I do is I just think smart. Whenever I get tax refunds now, ever since I gave birth to him, I use that and I pay up my rent for at least 6 to 7 months. I work. When I'm not in school, I'm working at least 40 hours a week. I don't make a lot, but I make enough to cover all my finances. It's really, really hard because it's just me. I don't have like a really big support system. It gets real sometimes for me and really, really frustrating.
So we study issues like this, and then what we try to do is come up with the game plan. It's not to say, you know, these students can't succeed because they have all these conditions. Instead, how do we create programs and services that will help the student overcome those conditions? It's the wraparound services that often is the difference between whether a student will stay in school or not.
At Trinity, it wasn't just that people generally wanted me to do well. You know, like, it was more personal. It was, I want you, Rewa, to do well.
And tell me, what does this suggest about the fugitive impulse, right? What does this suggest about textual escape?
My teachers here taught me it's okay to be the smartest girl in the room. You know, be that girl. It's okay.
Her being honest, right? And lowly. See, you do understand it. And
when we go back and
I
forth.
know, but I don't have the magic voice. You can do it.
Trinity had to go through change in the racial dynamics of the campus. It was not easy. It was hard. We learned to talk about race out loud. That's one of the things you have to do, but not in some patronizing, let's have a talk about race day, but in a very serious, what does it mean for faculty to understand and adapt the curriculum to a student body that is predominantly students of color?
Doing it, they just killed you, or could you actually go to jail for it?
When we talk about things in class now, they are connecting it to Ferguson. They are connecting it to social justice issues today, and they want to know how they can make change.
So how does this Montgomery bus boycott really begin? And I think before we even talk about how it begins, we need to realize, is this a new thing where people...
Students want to learn, and they don't just want to learn for the information that they get in the classroom, but they also want to learn to see how this is applicable to their lives.
In high school, I found out that I was undocumented. I would overhear conversations about, like, you came to this country for a better life, and so to me, a better life meant education.
Community partnerships have been key to getting scholarship help. This year, through the Dream.US scholarship program, Trinity accepted 20 Latinas who, because of their immigration status, could not get financial aid.
I wanted to become an architect, and so I went to UVA, and I wasn't able to even get past the financial aid questionnaire. I mean, I raised my hand and I said, what happens if somebody doesn't have a social security number? And the person giving the tour said that you shouldn't even come here.
That's a social justice kind of outreach that not a lot of Catholic places have had the opportunity to do or have chosen to do.
Everybody accepts the idea of social justice, Everybody accepts the idea that we do this work because we are making the lives of these women and the few men who come here better. And people who don't accept that as the core value, they don't last. And it's not because we don't have money. We are very frugal. And we get that from the nuns. This is the heritage of the Sisters of Notre Dame.
I mean, that's a marginal institution at the margins. I think the biggest challenge is going to be leadership. I think that's a sustainable model with somebody like Pat McGuire at the helm. I don't see a lot of presidents with the kind of street savvy, the guts, courage, and the depth of commitment that Pat has.
That have the least well-defined markets.
Maya Spears, International Affairs.
I can't help but think when I go there now of when I arrived there so many years ago and just how thrilled I was to be there. And I think that's probably something I have very much in common with the young women who arrive on the campus today. You know you are welcome. You know that you will be respected and that you will learn and that you will grow. And I think that's something that is the same about Trinity from a long time ago.
They remember who I am and they say, hey, how's things going? How's your son? How's the grades? Are you still a nursing major? That right there says a lot. That right there makes me feel valued. That right there makes me love Trinity. I almost don't want to graduate. I don't mean that.